Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Elephino Open number 24. I am Elephino. I am still joined by my good friend Jump. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you've had a lot of fun and are getting ready to go into the championship match here.
The only thing I wanted this entire day was to see that warrior deck, and now that I get to see it at least another time,
Sure.
the entire
Hopefully.
night is worth it for me. But no, I think that a lot of these, or both of these players, have really shown their ability to succeed. You have Pro Caleb, who won very convincingly in the
Yeah.
semifinal match, winning 3-0, and then Deathalore, who was able to kind of weather the storm in the semifinals and use that decision making to kind of pull themselves out. And now, as we get into the finals match, and they're running kind of very similar decks, we kind of really get to see the power level of these players and the decision making that they can have to try to pull out a win.
Yeah. So, in case you're just joining us this evening, this is a 256 player single elimination tournament. All matches are best of 5 conquest with a ban. So we've played through all of the matches up into the championship match. So let me flip over to the bracket here real quick. You can kind of see our top 8 and our semifinalists. So the first match we showed was the Maverick and Deathalore. Deathalore took a 3-2 victory, moving him into the championship. And then the other semifinals match was Pro Caleb taking a 3-0 victory over Cito, putting him in the championship match. So now coming up here very shortly, we got Deathalore and Pro Caleb going head-to-head in the epic Elephino Open number 24 championship. If you're looking to get involved in some of these open Hearthstone tournaments and the tournament scene and try to qualify for the Americas preliminaries for the summer, definitely check out strivewire.com. They've got tournaments for the Americas region, which this one is. They also have tournaments for the European region. So definitely check out strivewire.com and get involved in the open Hearthstone tournament scene. Get a couple points, have a lot of fun, make some friends, and maybe we'll see you at BlizzCon. So that'd be really fun to see. So as you can see, the prizes on the left side of your screen, third and fourth place each get 1 point in the Hearthstone Championship Tour standings. Second place gets 2 points, and first place gets 3 points. So just to kind of give you an idea of what those points mean is, if you hit just by hitting legend for an entire month of ladder, you get 1 point if you don't finish in the top 100 legend. So that's the equivalent to finishing third or fourth place in one of these open tournaments such as this one. So just in one day, you can get 3 points, which could be huge in the Hearthstone standings. I believe for the America's Spring preliminaries, you only had to get 10 points to qualify for that tournament. So if you win one of these things, that's essentially a third of your points, and you're well on your way to qualifying for the summer prelims. So anyway, enough of that. If you're interested, check out strivewire.com, and obviously Blizzard if you want more information on open tournaments and the qualifiers and such things such as that. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started with the championship match. Jump, would you mind doing a rundown of their lineups for us?
Yep, so we're going to have Deathalore. Deathalore was our first semifinal victor, our first finalist. He is going to be running that Beast Druid. He's going to be running the Unknown Shaman deck. We haven't seen it played yet, so we're not sure which one it is, whether it's the Totem Shaman that we've seen, or if it's going to actually be the aggro Shaman. We've got the Temple Warrior as well, so... oh, actually, no. Was it the Warlock that was? Yeah, and then the Warlock was banned. Okay, my notes got a little messed up on that one. And then we've got
Warlock
Pro Caleb
from both. Yep.
Yeah, the Pro Caleb, the other finalist. He's going to be running that Beast Druid, as well as his Shaman, that Pirate Dragon Warrior that I've been very very enthusiastic about, and his Warlock is banned. So three of the same deck. So it's going to be, we're going to see a mirror match at some point. But the big difference for me is that warrior. You've got the Tempo Warrior versus that Pirate Dragon Warrior, and the Pirate Dragon is a tempo deck of sorts, but it still does have those bigger bodies. You've got the Hungry Dragon, you've got the Corruptor as well. So it's a little bit of a different style, but something that we've seen Deathalore shine in. He had a little bit of a more difficult road. He ended up going 3-2 in the semifinal match. Is his decision making and his calculations and a little bit of the risks that he took kind of, not even kind of, really played out in his favor. So I want to see what he's able to do now against this kind of oppressive lineup that we see coming out of Pro Caleb.
Yeah, you mentioned the mirror match, and here we go in game number 1 of the championship match. We've got Deathlore on the top of your screen opening up with Shaman, and Pro Caleb on the bottom of your screen also going with the Shaman here right off the bat. So both favoring that start. They look like they look very similar as well, similar lineups.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what Pro Caleb is able to do, because he essentially he got some very solid starts in the last setup. He faced a little adversity, but by and large it wasn't anything too crazy. But Deathlore is known, or at least from what we've been able to see, to get out of these sticky situations pretty handily. So now it's going to be kind of a test of which one is able to come up on top, especially with this with these shamans, with the shaman mirror matchup. A lot of this is reliant on when you choose to overload, because both of these decks are heavily reliant on that overload factor, especially with the introduction of Tunnel Trog in the Old Gods expansion. Choosing when and when not to overload is a very big decision. It's going to be a very big momentum swing for both of these players, depending on which one ends up coming out on top.
This is a huge start right here. Deathlore able to bait out the rock biter and force the trade from so Pro Caleb deciding to clear as opposed to go on the aggressive here gives Deathlore a lot of the initiative on board thanks to that Argent Squire, especially with the Divine Shield. So I think he's in a commanding position early on.
Yeah, in this matchup, because this matchup is so reliant on board control, I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of these players go for these more effective trades as opposed to just pushing in for damage, because they're essentially running much of the same deck. There might be a couple card differences here and there, but by and large, they're running the same thing. And so a lot of their win condition relies on having that board control and making sure to efficiently use their resources, or use them as efficiently as possible, because that's the only way that they're going to come out on top. Because if one of the members uses too many resources to clear a minion or doesn't use enough resources to try to conserve, then things can really get out of whack very quickly, because something that Shaman as a class is very good at is getting a lot of that board presence and getting a lot of that control. So fighting for that board control is going to be on the forefront of both of these players' minds throughout the entirety of this match.
Yeah, you brought up a good point with the overload. They're able to take advantage of that overload to put larger minions than you should be able to on that turn, and then try to use that to snowball you through the rest of the match. Like 3 mana, 2 3/3s, or sorry, 2 2/3s with taunt is just obviously very cheap, but that's because of the overload mechanic, and they're being able to take advantage of that here.
Yeah, and we're starting to see kind of the first steps of what happens when you're unable to trade as efficiently as you would hope for, because Pro Caleb was forced to use that Rock Biter and actually using it on the Totem Golem to clear off. That allowed that effective trade with the Argent Squire. And so he was able to throw down his own other second Totem Golem. He was able to throw out the Spirit Wolf. So now, while there is still a fairly adequate board with that Tunnel Trog as that remaining Spirit Wolf, you still have Deathlore in a very advantageous position, especially when RNG plays in your favor onto the taunt minion with that Flame Juggler. So this is a great spot for him to be in, because now he can use his own Rock Biter, clear off the Tunnel Trog, have those 4 minions on board, and just continue to put that pressure onto it. Because if you look at Pro Caleb's hand, not only does he have that one overload there, he doesn't have anything for this Master of Evolution to have. So he's forced to throw this down just to have the 4/5 body on to kind of combat some of the minions that you have on the side of Deathlore. So Pro Caleb kind of forced into a difficult position, and now, especially with this abusive Sergeant draw coming out of Deathlore, it's going to be a big swing in his advantage here on this 6 mana spot.
Yeah, and Deathlore is going to definitely want to clear this off, because if he doesn't, Pro Caleb could have punished him severely with the second Master of Evolution. He would have allowed Pro Caleb to trade in and then upgrade the minion into a larger one. So heals it, upgrades it, and that would have been one way for Pro Caleb to come back in this game. But Deathlore sniffed it out and was able to shut that down before it got started.
Yeah. So now the one Finley to rule them all gets thrown down, and you're kind of in a rough spot. You can, you could technically go for the life tap to try to get some extra card draw because you're struggling, but you're already at 18 health. So you're not too sure if you want to do it. He actually does decide to go for it. So a very advantageous play by Pro Caleb just to try to get some extra card draw in. That is something that Shaman as a class lacks, but at the same time, you're just really struggling because you're, like I said, you're already on 18 life points, so you're kind of really struggling in that sense. There is a taunt as well as a divine shield up on the other side, so Deathlore going to be able to put himself in a good spot. He's going to keep onto that, and with the full commit onto the board, Deathlore with full 7 minions, a taunt as well as a divine shield at his mercy. It's going to be putting Pro Caleb in a rough spot to be into.
Yeah, I think it was a good pickup by Pro Caleb. I think the Hunter, while it's very tempting when you're running an aggressive deck, you can tell that he was behind. And this is one way for him to try to send this into the late game. And then obviously looking at Deathlore saying he is out of cards right now. He's going to be in top deck mode. And if you can clear off this board somehow, some way, then you could eventually bring this back with that life tap.
Yeah, and luckily there isn't a huge amount of power on the board just because they are these 1-2 attack minions. But it will get scary if he draws into an overload card, because just as I say that, you want an overload card, you want some extra damage. Well, here's a Doom Hammer for your troubles. So now that's going to be a lot of extra damage now onto it, and without really any forms of taunts that Pro Caleb has. He does have the thing from below, but he's going to be top decking at this point. This game is almost a delay of the inevitable, as Deathlore showing up strong again in match 1.
Yeah, that's the that Doom Hammer is on you. I'll make sure to tell Pro Caleb that you called that one. But that's going to set up lethal for Deathlore as he takes game number 1 very quickly. Turn 7, I mean, not the fastest, but definitely a pretty quick victory.
Yep, and it was all because he got that early board control. It forced Pro Caleb to go for pretty inefficient play with that Rockbiter down, especially with the Ardent Squire already on board. So the second that happened, that allowed the momentum shift to go into the favor of Deathlore, and he tightened up the reins, full speed ahead, and he didn't stop because it was just a consistent flood of the board. And that's something that these Totem Shamans are very good at. Shaman as a class in general, I've mentioned it before, is very good at. So being able to have that there, being able to keep pressure on the board, and without a Lightning Storm or any form of effective clear on Pro Caleb's side, that's going to be his Shaman going down, Deathlore going up 1 wins to none. And so now he has the Tempo Warrior and the Beast Druid remaining. So I wouldn't be surprised if Pro Caleb decides to try to switch something up himself. But Deathlore, with already being up 1 spot, definitely looking good.
Yeah, so here in game number 2, we got Deathlore up 1-0. He's going to switch to his Druid, and Pro Caleb going to give that Shaman another go. So we'll see if it's able to capitalize and even up the series that 1-1, which Pro Caleb would very much like here.
So he got pretty lucky. This Totem Shaman is actually going to be pretty solid against this Beast Druid, as long as he's able to get some early board presence and try to combat a lot of the early pressure that the Beast Druid can pump out. Things are going to be good. He also has some pretty effective clear tools to get off of the minions that Deathlore is going to be able to throw out. But just looking at the hand that we have right here, it's not going to be as powerful as what he had hoped for, because Deathlore has he's got that he's got that Innervate available as well as the coin, so we could see a really early Druid of the Claw if he wants to. The Mounted Raptor is an option as well, and knowing how difficult his hand is right away, Pro Caleb is forced to throw out that Abusive Sergeant for turn 1.
Yeah, I was going to point that out from Deathlore. He intentionally kept Innervate and Druid of the Claw off the mulligan. So that's definitely a plan that he's expecting to have going forward. It'll shut down hopefully for him, it'll shut down the early game pressure from the Shaman with the taunt and prevent him from falling behind in the early game. It's a huge swing for him when that comes out.
Yeah, and so you have the swipe getting drawn up from the Raven Idol by Deathlore, and that's going to be really nice for him, especially when you're going against these Totem Shamans and whatnot, to try to have a little bit of extra clear. Especially, you do see Azure Drakes pop up time to time in these Beast Druid decks, so having that in combination with a swipe works out in their favor. But with the coin and the Innervate available, you got to do the smart choice. You got to go with the safe bet, and it's going to be the Druid of the Claw that he throws out with that 4/6 taunt. So now is kind of a decision-making for Pro Caleb. He can choose to clear this with the Lava Burst if he wants, but that's a huge form of removal already gone for one of these minions. But he is just going to decide to go for it anyways. Going to be able to get the clear, still maintain a little bit of board control with the Flame Juggler. And now the decision throws on a Deathlore, and because he was able to get a good coin Innervate out on that Druid of the Claw, he's still able to curve out nicely and just throw down that Mounted Raptor.
Yeah, I think that Lava Burst was a huge pickup for Pro Caleb. Otherwise, that Druid of the Claw would have ran rampant on all of his small minions and would have just got a crap ton of value from the Druid of the Claw there. So I think that was a really nice pickup from him, able to clear off the minion and keep one of your minions alive. And hopefully, he was hoping for a kind of a slow turn from Deathlore, because it really is only turn 3. We saw Druid of the Claw, so it kind of makes you feel like it's later in the game than it is. But he knew that only really a 2-drop was going to come out from Deathlore, and so he could take initiative this turn.
Most certainly. So a 4/4 body, definitely something that's gonna have to be gonna have to get off the board pretty quickly if you're Deathlord. Now you do have essentially the extra swipe in your hand because you did pull that off of the Raven Idol. So that could be a tool of removal if you so choose. You've also got the Druid of the Saber, some Power of the Wilds, nice little 4 mana. It gets you some extra power onto that Gadgetzan Jouster as well. But because you have the extra swipe in hand, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually throws it down here. However, you know, there is some other options that Deathlord can have. So he's waiting himself out. He's kind of thinking, all right, what can Pro Caleb throw out on the next setup? Because he's going to have the full 5. There is a potential that the Doomhammer could come out or something a little bit more formidable as the minions go. But it looks like he's just going to end up going for that Druid of the Saber into that Power of the Wild to get a little bit of extra stuff on. And so there's going to be the 2 Panthers down. He's actually just going to ignore the 4/4 minion.
Yeah, I like this. I think the swipe would have been a little bit too defensive. If you have a larger minion, like say that Druid of the Claw had stuck around this late, maybe use the swipe to protect that. But using your entire turn to clear that off, and I think it might have put you too far behind going into Pro Caleb's turn here. He would have had all the initiative on the board. So I like that from Deathlord, not being too defensive with that swipe, realizing that he's still at 25 health, and he's in a pretty good position as long as he doesn't give all the initiative back to Pro Caleb intentionally.
And there wasn't a lot of cards in Pro Caleb's hand as well. So he did the math and he realized, all right, what does he actually have available for him to help? He knows now that there's only 1 card remaining in his hand. He threw down the Argent Horse Rider as well as the Argent Squire to kind of just get some extra body, but he's going to be able to respond pretty handily because there aren't that many minions in the hand of Pro Caleb. He knows that he can't burst him down that hard. He is still at 25 health, so he's just going to be able to throw down that Strangletorn Tiger, and now is where that swipe really is going to play into effect, because he's going to be able to swipe down that Flame Reef Faceless, can even kill it with the Stranglehorn if he so chooses. So holding on to that earlier, going to play out in his favor, so he's going to be able to get a nice little clear onto this Faceless. He can even market the Yashari if he wants to as well. It's going to end up getting him to kill, but he'll get some cycle. He'll be able to get that on, and he'll still be able to save his swipe for something later. So he's got a couple extra options if he wants to do something.
Yeah, I like that. I think that'd be a pretty good start. Let's hover over that card because it's kind of newer. Some of the viewers may or may not know what it is, so we'll get to see it because he's going to play it right now. But I like to hover over the newer cards that came out from the expansion. So he does go with that play, and he cycles into not exactly what you want to go with here. It is a 4-drop. You can slam that down, but he's not able to do the hero power with it as well. So I think I'd still play it, unless you really want to value that hero power and slow down the 2/1. You just slam into there.
Yeah, see, I like throwing it down because you're assuming that he's going to trade into the 7/7, and that's the obvious decision. Now there are 2 cards left in Pro Caleb's hands. There's a chance that he's got a Lightning Blast to be able to get a clear onto it. But by and large, it's still going to be a lot of forced clear onto that 5/4, because the 5/4 can deal with a lot of the minions that come down. It deals with the thing from below. It clearly is going to deal with these 2/3. So it's a little bit of extra help on the side of Deathlord just to get that big body on the field. And especially considering the solid commitment that Pro Caleb has to get everything done, he's going to be able to have a very effective swipe. He's also going to have that Savage Combatant down to not only clear off one, but both of the Spirit Wolf. So really good decision by Deathlord, actually paying off, getting the clear, and kind of preserving his life total in the process.
I was very surprised by Pro Caleb. He went aggressive. I guess he saw that he was fizzling out, and his win condition is to just keep aggressive and keep hitting his opponent in the face, especially with that 100 hero power. But it did allow for Deathlord to use his hero power to kill off one of your Spirit Wolves. So I understand why he did it. I'm just making the argument for going the other way.
So now we've really credited a lot to Daylor and his ability to kind of keep up the clear onto it, because Pro Caleb is essentially, running out of steam because he doesn't have that many cards. However, each time he throws onto something, each time he ends up using that hero power to help clear, he's reducing his life total. 10 health is not a lot left, because if Pro Caleb, say, draws the Doomhammer this turn and then has the Rockbiter or something of the similar sort, then he can really start to create a disastrous position for Deathlord. So Deathlord kind of on a hopeful spree, crossing his fingers, hoping that nothing too serious comes out of the top deck. And as Pro Caleb is drawing himself up, he's hoping Master of Evolution gives him something big onto it. It's not going to be the greatest. Actually, no, I stand corrected. It's actually going to be a pretty solid with the sparring partner. Going to soak up those saplings, going to force some extra preservation of his life total, and allow that steady shot to just keep going, keep pumping damage, because that's really what's needed. So a good effort by Pro Caleb. However, Deathlord does have the double Savage Roar in hand. So
yeah,
if he's able to keep some bodies down, then this could be game over.
Yeah, I think you run the Azure Drake into the taunt here, and then use the Savage Roar. Just one of them. You could use both if you want to. I think I like just using one of the Savage Roars, clearing off the 4/5, and then you can also throw down 2 3-mana minions. You got a Savage Roar in your back pocket with a decent sized board still.
You're kind of again relying on the fact that he doesn't draw anything good off of the top deck, because there is still the Lava Burst, so he can kill him with the Lava Burst here. I wouldn't be surprised if Deathlord makes sure that every time he throws something down, he's still able to at least armor up. Oh, I stand corrected on that. So fully committing to this style of play, hoping that something doesn't come off of the top deck for Pro Caleb. He does have the Lightning Bolt, so now is a decision of, do I just continue to push for damage onto it? Because he essentially threatens lethal by Lightning Bolt, using the Lightning Bolt into the face, but he knows that the Shapeshift is available, so he's not going to be able to kill him, and he's going to be reliant on another setup. So it's kind of a decision making now of, do I go for phase or do I go for the 5/2? And he decides to go for the 5/2. I like this, again, because it just preserves a lot of his life total. He still has a lot of potential burst coming out from his top deck, so going to just hope for the best, and Deathlord going to respond very quickly with that Wrath, trying to get some cycle in, trying to get some extra cards and some more tools to dispose of this Shaman.
Yeah, sure. Mounted Raptor having 3 or 1 health, or sorry, 2 or 1 health, not relevant at all. So I like that. Hopefully, he was hoping to pick up another minion, but that swipe might be pretty good here. It might be just the Doctor ordered to clear off this the second 4/5 here.
Yeah, he's gonna. It's pretty much a pretty easy decision for Deathlord to throw that down. He's going to probably throw down the swipe, kill it out with the sapling. He's kind of calculating his damage right now. I mean, we can look and see he's got 4, 6, 9, 10, 12 damage available. So he doesn't quite have lethal. So he's just gonna play the smart game there. Gonna throw down the Fandral as well as trade in the sapling.
Yeah, we can go back here to where Deathlord decided to keep the sapling alive instead of the Azure Drake. And that would have allowed for a really clean... The Azure Drake being alive, the spell power, not only is it more attack on its own, but it would have allowed for a 5-attack swipe there to clear out that minion, and he would have been able to keep the Savage Roar, or the Azure Drake, alive even longer to take advantage of Savage Roar.
And that's going to be lethal there.
But it doesn't matter.
Druid of the Claw gets drawn in, Savage Roar as well, and Deathlord... Wow, picking up a quick 2-0 here, dispelling of that Shaman 2 times in a row. So now we're kind of in the spot that we saw in our last semifinal match of, do you go with that shaman for the third time around? You know it's going to be going against that tempo warrior. So do you throw the shaman onto that tempo warrior, or you go into something else? And we don't even have time to give analysis.
We're going to find out right now.
Right back into it. And third time's a charm, man. 2 times in a row have we had that repeat for the potential final match. The tournament point here for Deathlore, that tempo warrior going up against this shaman. So big scary opportunity for both of these players.
Yeah, one of the big cards for Pro Caleb, but he hasn't been able to draw, was that Doomhammer. We just saw him throw it back, which understandable off the mulligan, but he hasn't been able to pick that up when he wanted to kind of close out the game and really put on the pressure a little bit more. So we'll see if he's able to do that here in his mid game.
So decent start out here for Pro Caleb. He's got a decent curve on it. He was able to throw down the Argent Squire. He'll have the Totem Golem for next turn to be able to get something in. And this is do or die now for Pro Caleb. So it's going to be very interesting to see whether or not that draw does work out into his favor. It's working as of right now, especially because whatever minion Deathlord decides to throw down, he is turn 3. So you know it's either going to be the Acolyte or that Fierce Monkey. So whichever one comes down, that are going to most certainly going to be able to deal with onto it. So Acolyte of Pain gets thrown down. Flame Tongue Totem could quite easily come out to buff up that Argent Squire, get that kill, and just, keep that pressure on, because you have to essentially out-tempo the tempo warrior in this matchup. Shaman generally does well against warrior just because of their ability to get minions and get bodies on the board very easily. It kind of just hurts the tempo that a lot of the warriors can create. But this is a tempo warrior, so you're reliant on getting that early board control if you want any opportunity and really any chance of winning this match.
That lightning bolt, I was gonna point this out. That was a huge call by Pro Caleb. I think Deathlore was hoping to bait out an attack from the Totem Golem into the Acolyte of Pain so he could execute it next turn. But by him not doing that, using it with the lightning bolt, then now he's going to have to deal with it in another way and take more damage to the face.
Yeah, and this is just very efficient play now coming out of Pro Caleb, because it forced the blood to Ichor. Yes, there's the 2/2 body up, but you can decide to use the Flame Tongue Totem now. You still preserve at least one of your Defined Shields because you've got the 3/1, and actually he's going to decide to preserve both. No, as I say that, he was thinking whether or not to use that Rockbiter on himself and then clear out the 2/2 and preserve both of those Divine Shields. So he's thinking about it. At this, I would say no in this instance, but this is why he's playing in this tournament and I'm not. He's actually just going to decide to push face, ignore that 2/2. He knows that the Flame Tongue Totem was going down anyway, so just getting as much extra damage as he can, going to hopefully help him out. And now is a difficult spot because he does have enough to clear, but he's going to take some damage while he's doing it.
Yeah, that was a huge play by Deathlore, able to have that taunt there. That was not what Pro Caleb was hoping to see coming down that turn. He was hoping to not have a taunt and be able to use that Doomhammer like we were talking about to go face there. If he was able to push 4 damage face there, plus the double 1 drops, that would have been 6 damage. He would have put his opponent down to 10. Assuming no armor up, he would have had lethal with the Rockbiter. So maybe that was a play he was setting up, but those taunts are going to shut that down pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I would double Rockbiter.
Yeah, he's going to be forced to use again more damage onto his face, and this is actually working out pretty well in the favor of Deathlore, because even though he's getting his life totals down, he's only sitting at essentially 18 effective health. He still is he's still making sure that damage is getting done onto Pro Caleb, because Pro Caleb is down to 18. He's had to waste a lot of damage on the face. 1 Rockbiter is down. You're almost sure that the Rockbiter's there. If you track the hand movements from the last turn, then there's a chance that you recognize that he was debating whether or not to throw the Rockbiter onto it. So you've got an idea that that's in the hands. So you're just going to have to try to figure out what you're going to do. And at this point, no matter what play you make, you're making sure that you're armoring up, because you have to try to create as much distance from that shaman as possible. So he's going to do everything he can to try to preserve some of those life totals. And Pro Caleb is just going to be very simple, throw down that new Ruby and Prophet, as well as call himself up a totem. And having that Stone Claw there, definitely going to help him out because he's sitting on potential lethal coming in next turn. Has 13, so he will be 1 off lethal, actually, as we come into this.
Right, assuming an armor up, which will undoubtedly come out from Deathlord. But I think he would have played the Nerubian if he didn't get the taunt totem. I think he's valuing that taunt a little bit more than having it be. Well, I'm actually kind of surprised why he didn't play the Nerubian Prophet there.
I think he knew that it was going to be cleared one way or another, and so he kind of wanted to. To me, I feel like it was more of a bluff of, okay, I have an extra burst card, so I'm going to force you to use extra removal to gain more armor. Now, it was kind of a calling of the bluff because Deathlord did have the double AoE to get an extra 5 armor to help himself out. But that is kind of the best guess I could make is make him use extra tools to clear itself out. But it's gonna not as much work in his favor. However, just as I say that, he does end up drawing the Master of Evolution, so he can try to hope for the best here as he tries to get that through. And having that 5/6 is definitely going to help him. It's going to force some extra removal, but lurking in the wayside, we know Deathlord does have that execute available, so not going to be as great. And as this game gets dragged on out, that armor and that armor smith really starting to gain some extra value in this match.
Yeah, Pro Caleb would have really liked the battle cry from the Guardian there, but unfortunately he doesn't get that when he transforms it, so that's unfortunate for him. And now some cycle from Deathlord picks up a couple taunts, and that's probably going to shut it out for him. It's going to be very difficult for Pro Caleb to come back in this one.
Yeah, you just drew 6 cards, and you still have 4 mana remaining. One of those is most certainly going to be a taunt because you know he's running double monkey, double bloodhoof, so the chances of 6 cards and one of them being a taunt is pretty high. But as it stands, it looks like Deathlord is just going to prioritize getting off that clear. You have no reason not to because you're sitting on 21 effective health, 9 armor that you're able to pull yourself out of. There's 1 card in Pro Caleb's hands that you're still assuming is that Rockbiter based on the last situation. And so now, as it comes through, Pro Caleb's just not even going to worry about it. 3 times the Shaman comes up to bat, and 3 times it strikes out as Deathlord going to come away with the championship of the 24th Elephino Open, and doing it in stylish fashion for sure.
Yeah, very, very convincing win. We saw Pro Caleb take a 3-0 win in the semifinals, and now Deathlord able to get a 3-0 win in the finals. So very convincing wins by both of these players in their matches, and very high skill level. It just shows, that they're both very high skill level players. It just didn't quite work out for Pro Caleb. He couldn't get past that Shaman. He kept throwing it up there, as you said. If he was able to get past that, we might have seen a completely different matchup. But it not being able to pull out a victory made the 3-0 victory possible. Maybe looks a little bit more convincing than it could have been. He doesn't give Pro Caleb maybe some of the justification that he deserves, because he's a very high skill level player to make it all the way through a 256 player single elimination tournament. So it's unfortunate to see him go down in a 3-0 fashion.
True, but you do have to give a lot of credit to Deathlord. Something that we saw as a common trend throughout both the semifinals and finals is that he knew exactly when he could fully commit to the board and when he needed to play a little bit more conservative. You saw that even if it required a couple pieces of removal, he was keeping the board control that he wanted, especially in the meta now. I mean, in card games in general, obviously board control is prevalent and it's kind of a top priority for most of these players. But especially in the current meta of Hearthstone that we see right now, having early board control is extremely powerful. You have those decks like the Miracle Rogue that rely on a lot of that cycle and that burst to really come through. But without that early presence, then they're not allowed to get there. And that's something that Deathlord was able to maintain throughout the entirety of both the semifinals as well as the finals match, is that presence and is that methodical placement of when to and when not to actually commit those minions onto the board. So you have to give credit where credit is due. 256 players is a lot of individuals to go through, and not only getting through that, but then 3-0ing in the finals, definitely something to be proud of.
Yeah, was not trying to take anything away from Deathlore at all. He definitely played extremely well and definitely deserving of the championship here. So, congratulations to him. We will congratulations to Pro Caleb too, finishing second place, gets 2 points. Deathlore going to finish up with 3 points. So let's show you the bracket here again before we close it out. So we started off. We saw the first semifinals match. Deathlore took a 3-2 victory over the Maverick. And then we saw Pro Caleb take a 3-0 victory over Cito. And then in the championship, we just saw Deathlore take a 3-0 victory over Pro Caleb. So that'll wrap it up for us. If you're looking to get involved in some of these open tournaments and make a name and try to get into the summer preliminaries, definitely check out strivewire.com. They have a lot of open Hearthstone tournaments for both the European and the American servers. So definitely check them out if you want to get involved in the open Hearthstone tournament scene. But we will thank all of our players for competing in this tournament. Congratulations to the players that were able to go home with some points and some prize money. But we'll thank all of them for competing and wish them luck in future tournaments. And we'll thank Strivewire for allowing us to use their phenomenal website to host this tournament. And thank all you guys for watching. And thank you very much, Jump, for casting with me. Do you have any closing comments that you'd like to finish with?
Just another congratulations to Deathlore. Obviously, you know, there is always the Open next week, and I wouldn't take this as a too detrimental of a hit if I'm Pro Caleb or any of the individuals that didn't finish, because something that's great about these open tournaments is that things can change week to week, and all it takes is one good streak. All it takes is one good set of draws, and you can put yourself in the same position that these two players were at. So if you're anyone looking, trying to get into the scene, or trying to rise up through the ranks of Hearthstone, no pun intended, it's definitely going to take tournaments like these, and you know, just a self grind of yourself to find the deck list that best worked for you and your play style to try to get up and actually be one of these top tier players like what we've seen tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you one more time for joining us, and really appreciate you guys watching. The next Elephino Open will be next week. So every Sunday we run this, and it'll be on, you can sign up for it on strivewire.com. The tournament itself will take place at 12 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And then we'll also check out the stream again, which will be at 6 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So you can check it out on my Twitch, which is on the screen there, twitch.tv/ElephinoHS. Or you can see it on Firebat's channel, which you're probably watching on right now, which is twitch.tv/Firebat. So he's a really great guy. I'm really thankful to him for allowing me to stream this on his channel every week. So shout out to him. But that'll do it for us. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you really enjoyed it.